Hello Zaniacs! Welcome back to Zaniac TV. I'm your host, Zane, and today we're going to go over how to Brewmaster Monk in the early Shadowlands expansion. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Also, I stream live on Twitch, so come and hang out there with me 4 days a week. The very first and the very most important thing about being a Brewmaster tank is you have to make sure your transmog is on point. Because if you look cool, you play cool. In this section, I will explain Stagger in great detail. It can be a bit confusing at first, so bear with me. But by the end, there should be a better understanding of it. Stagger percent is based on your agility. Not attack power, not secondary stats, just agility. But agility from all sources. So flasks, enchants, potions, used trinkets, and food all count towards Stagger. For round number purposes, let's say you're getting hit for 100 physical damage attack. Let's say you have 30% stagger from your agility. You will take 70 damage directly and 30 damage over 10 seconds. If two attacks at the same time at 100 damage, you receive 140 damage directly and 60 damage over 10 seconds. I've had non-monk tanks tell me, well, what's the point if you're taking the damage regardless? Well, for two reasons. For one, your healer only has to heal an initial burst of 70 damage as opposed to 100, and deal with the rest over 10 seconds. Second, the stagger damage of 30 over 10 seconds can be purified by half, making it 15 damage over 10 seconds. So that doesn't seem like a lot. Well, that's because it's not. Monks have a passive ability, Shuffle, which increases the effectiveness of your stagger by 100%, passive from Keg Smash, Blackout Kick, and Spinning Crane Kick. It's possible to have 100% uptime on Shuffle, so keep Keg Smash and Blackout Kick on cooldown and you'll be fine. Now that we have Shuffle up, Stagger goes from 30% in our hypothetical situation to 60%. Let's take that same 100 physical attack. You now take 40 damage directly and 60 over 10 seconds. If two attacks come at the same time at 100 damage, you will receive 80 damage directly and 120 damage over 10 seconds. What a major difference! I know for sure I would much rather heal someone who took direct 40 damage instead of direct 70 damage. Besides, 60 damage over 10 seconds is only 6 damage a second. Unfortunately though, when it comes to magic damage, it only has a 35% effectiveness. So if you get hit for 100 magic damage, at 60% stagger with Shuffle, you take 79 magic damage and 21 stagger over 10 seconds. It's rougher for magic, but hey, better than taking all of it like other tanking classes have to. Keg Smash is a very versatile ability. It deals area damage, has a 20% slow, adds Shuffle, allows Breath of Fire to deal damage over time, and reduces the remaining cooldown of your brews by 3 seconds. Blackout Kick deals single target damage, grants Shuffle, and adds a stack of your mastery, Elusive Brawler. Spinning Crane Kick. Channeled AoE attack that grants you Shuffle. There are a few more uses of this, but we'll go over this with talents and legendaries. Tiger Palm, or as I like to call it, Slap or Slapping, deals single target damage and reduces the cooldown of your brews by 1 second. Breath of Fire is a short range cone attack. If the target is affected by Keg Smash first, it will also leave a damage over time that makes the enemy deal 5% less damage to you. Invoke Nizao the Black Ox. For 25 seconds, Nizao attacks your target. He also stomps, causing AoE damage for 25% of the recently purified stagger damage. During this time, 25% of all damage staggered is instead given to Nizao. Touch of Death. It's an attack that, against non-boss enemies, will kill them instantly if their current health falls below your max health. Got an enemy causing your group problems? Just delete it. Get its HP less than yours and boom! On boss enemies, however, when you get the boss below 15%, it does 35% of your health. Touch of Death also reduces delayed stagger damage by 200% of the damage dealt. Celestial Brew. It absorbs damage based on how much you already purified. Purifying more while it's on also increases its amount. Purifying Brew. Clears half your stagger damage and increases how much Celestial Brew absorbs. Every time you use Purifying Brew, you get 1 stack of Purifying Chi. Clearing moderate or heavy stagger will give you multiple stacks of Purifying Chi, stacking up to 10 times. Expel Harm is a self-heal that you can use every 5 seconds. The amount healed is increased based on how many healing spheres you have out. Your mastery is Elusive Brawler. Every time you are hit by a melee attack, or when you use Blackout Kick, you gain a stacking % of increased dodge chance until your next successful dodge. It also increases your attack power. Let's go back to our hypothetical situation. At 0 mastery, you have an 8% additional chance to dodge. Of course, this scales with mastery, but we're using a hypothetical situation. Now, when this damaging attack hits you, you're going to go from 8% dodge to 16% dodge. Blackout Kick is off cooldown, so I'm going to use it, and now I'm going from 16% dodge to 24% dodge. I now fully dodge this 100 attack. My dodge chance is now reduced back down to 8% dodge. I get super lucky and dodge again. I'm still at an 8% dodge chance. Now I get super unlucky, I get hit 7 times, and I'm able to use 2 Blackout Kicks. I am now at 80% dodge. I finally dodged the next attack, now I am back down to 8%. Now, of course, you're not going to have 0 mastery, but it has to have a base somewhere, and the base is 8. This percent also includes your passive dodge amount, so it's not going to be 8%. It's going to be your dodge plus 8%. Then every time your mastery procs, it just goes up by that 8%. Now, also, your mastery increases your attack power by that base percent amount, which increases the potency of some of your spells. Fortifying Brew is your big defensive cooldown. It turns your skin into stone, increasing your current and maximum health by 20%, increasing the effectiveness of your stagger by 10%, and reducing all damage you take by 20%. Alright, and back to our hypothetical situation. While under the effects of Fortifying Brew, that 100 damaging attack now becomes an 80 damaging attack. So now with your stagger at 70%, of that 80, you're going to get directly hit for 24, and you're going to stagger 56 over 10 seconds. Clash. You and the target charge at each other, meeting halfway and rooting all targets within 6 yards. Okay, so pretty much what this is, it's a half pull, half charge. It's really awesome, really good for positioning and interrupting. Leg Sweep is an AoE stun that only has a minute cooldown. It knocks down everybody and stuns them for 3 seconds. Roll, pretty self-explanatory. You roll a short distance. Good for mobility. Transcendence. You leave a Transcendence down, and then you're able to switch to your Transcendence at any point, as long as you're within 40 yards. This is really good for if you're trying to line of sight pull, or if you get knocked off an edge, you can just Transcendence back to where you are. Spear Hand Strike is your interrupt, and Provoke is your taunt. On the first row, I take Eye of the Tiger. I have to use Tiger Palm anyway, and it'll add a passive healing all the time. Plus, I personally really don't want an extra button. On the next row, it is completely personal preference, but I take Chi Torpedo. I would rather be able to roll further than be able to roll more. It is very helpful when trying to pick up threat in Mythic Pluses. On the third row, now I know I said I didn't want an extra button on the first row, but this is why. Because Black Ox Brew is very important. Some people say to go light brewing, but with Black Ox Brew, I'm able to reset the cooldown on my Celestial Brew so I can use it when I need it. Plus, it's not actually a 2-minute cooldown because it gets reduced because it's a brew. I've used Black Ox Brew more often than I realize, and I usually pop it when Celestial Brew has about 45 seconds or 30 seconds or somewhere around there time left. Ring of Peace is the single greatest utility spell in the game. I will argue this constantly. I said it in my last video that was based on 8.3, but I'll say it again. Ring of Peace can be used for everything. It could be a defensive, it could be a interrupt, a stun, it could be a protection spell. Drop it, roll away so they stop hitting you. Ring of Peace is an absolute must-have, and it is undisputed the best talent in this row. I am currently taking Bob and Weave. What Bob and Weave does is it increases the staggered by 3 seconds. So it goes from 10 seconds to 13 seconds, which makes each tick less potent. Another very good option is Healing Elixir. One of two reasons I'm not taking Healing Elixir. One, I don't have the button space for it. Two, I'm so used to Bob and Weave from the last expansion that I kind of got used to it. But both of these options are very viable. I just take Bob and Weave. I wanted Exploding Keg. I really did. The idea of having enemies miss me for 3 seconds every minute was great. But I was having such a threat issue that I had to go back to Rushing Jane Wind. Spinning Crane Kick just wasn't enough AoE threat. Maybe one day down the line I can switch to it. I've been running Celestial Flames for better uptime with Breath of Fire. Having 10% damage reduction on enemies, especially in larger packs of Mythic Flosses, is very valuable. Using Blackout Combo is good in theory, but it throws off your opener, and if you have to use Blackout Kick with either Keg Smash or Celestial Brew on cooldown, you'll end up wasting it on the damage buff of Tiger Palm. High Tolerance is also a good alternative option to Celestial Flames. It makes your stagger more potent by 5% and gives you haste based on your current level of stagger. Remember, more haste means you're able to use Keg Smash and Purifying Brew more, in turn being able to use Celestial Brew more. There are 4 things you need to look at when you're deciding a Covenant. Class ability, Soulbind, how it works with your off-spec, and cosmetics. Yes, cosmetics. Cosmetics are important because you're going to be spending a lot of time in that zone. If you don't like a certain group of people, you're not going to want to be in that zone for a long time, and you're not going to really have as much fun. Now, if cosmetics don't matter to you, doesn't matter because I'm not going to be going over it much anyway, because it's really all just opinion based. Alright, let's get started with the Venthyr. My opinion on cosmetics is irrelevant, but regardless, love it, get to check. Fallen Order is a 3-minute cooldown with a 24-second duration. Every 3 seconds, it summons the spirit of a monk. It favors what class you are, so since you are tanking, it favors the Fallen Ox. There are 2 things I don't like about this ability. For one, I don't like its 3-minute cooldown compared to the other 3 options, which are way shorter. Second is using this ability, even though it's favoring the Ox, it's still a random chance at which one comes out, and the only thing it's going to be doing is spreading Breath of Fire and maybe sometimes healing with a little bit of damage. It's a fun and cool concept, but with this long cooldown and short duration, it's just not practical. Class ability is out. Thrill Seeker grants stacks of haste until you get to 20% for 10 seconds. Haste is okay and needed to an extent, but I wouldn't want to pick a Soulbind ability based around that. Soothing Shade gives you 525 mastery for 12 seconds about once per minute, but it's while you're under the umbrella. Therefore, if you have to move, this ability is no longer good. Service in Stone is not even out at the time of me making of this video, but damage taken below 40% health is reduced by 10%, which is like saying 10% versatility. Upon death, you leave a stone husk behind, which shatters after 3 seconds, inflicting 100% of your maximum health and damage split among nearby enemies, and healing for your maximum health split among nearby allies. Well, the goal is not to die, so we're hoping that that part is irrelevant. Therefore, I am not a personal fan of this one either. Venthyr Soulbind abilities, hard pass. Now, based on everything we just heard, the class ability is not all that great for Mistweaver, the Soulbinds are okay for Mistweaver, therefore, off-spec gets a nice X. Needless to say, but Venthyr is out. My personal opinion on cosmetics is irrelevant, however, this still gets a check from me. Feline Stomp deals damage and has a 30-second recharge. It has a 6% chance of resetting, as well as giving your Stagger a 5% more effectiveness against targets that are hit. Now, the Stagger is great. This is also great for threats. Plus, with the reset chance, you're able to do it multiple times. I am, in fact, in favor of the class ability. Feline Stomp, you're going to get 8 stacks of 25 Mastery for 30 seconds. Plus, with the chance of reset, the Mastery is just going to stack over and over and over again. So, Grove Invigoration, very good. Pod Tender. We're trying to avoid dying. Therefore, Pod Tender overall is just not good, especially with a 10-minute cooldown. We're not going to be able to use this in Mythic Pluses as much. Wild Hunt Tactics, your damage to targets above 75% health and healing to targets below 35% health is increased by 10%. So pretty much on the first half, it provides no defensives, and on the second half, only while you self-heal at 35% health or less, it does anything. Not something I would go with. As for Soulbinds, I'm going to give it a check. That first Soulbind is really incredible for tanking. Feline Stomp as a healer as a whole is not all that great. However, that mastery bonus with the Soulbind does make it worth it. However, with the way the game is, you are unable to use 2 Soulbinds per spec with the proper conduits. Therefore, I am unable to accept off spec as a viable option. So Night Fae is out. Alright, as for the Necrolords, I do not like Maldraxxus, I do not like Plague, I do not like Bone, I just don't like this place. So Cosmetics, out. Alright, so this is how Bone Dust Brew works. You douse your enemies with a skill shot, soaking them in brew. For the next 10 seconds, your Tiger Palm and Keg Smash reduce the cooldown of your brews by an additional 1 second. I do want to point out that it is a brew, so this 1 minute cooldown is actually not 1 minute, it's less. Over the duration of the 10 seconds, due to global cooldowns, the most amount of downtime with your brews is going to be an additional 6 seconds. So by using this ability, overall, you're going to be reducing the cooldown of your brews by 6 seconds per minute. Me, personally, I don't really like the way Bone Dust Brew works. It's just not a skill that I really like. I would have to use this on cooldown and get as much of the 10 seconds as I can in order for this to be the most effective. I feel like it's a lot of work for only 6 seconds of reduced brew time. For me and my playstyle, class ability, out. Now like I said, this is just my playstyle. If this is good for your playstyle, I'm still going to go over the Soulbinds right now. Volatile Solvent leaves a lot to the imagination, because it doesn't actually say what the essences and benefits are, but they vary between a ton of mastery, health regen, armor, and various other types of buffs. This is a very good ability to have. With Lead by Example, when you activate Bone Dust Brew, you get primary stat increase, and you give party members primary stat increase. Plus, the more people you buff, the more buff you get. Therefore, Lead by Example, awesome. As for Forgeborn, when this comes out, your primary stat and armor are increased by 1% for each enchantment on your armor for up to 3%. Now, you should be having enchants, so you're going to have a constant 3% primary stat and armor increase, always. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of Upon Death stuff, but the first part is beneficial, plus it doesn't hurt having it on death as long as there's something with it. Therefore, Forgeborn, checked for me. Necrolord Soulbinds, yes. Alright, so as for off-spec, we definitely say yes to the Soulbinds because all 3 of them are also good for healing. However, short answer, people don't generally stack up for Mythic Pluses. The numbers may be the highest, but in a practical use, people just don't stack. So Bone Dust Brew will not be at its full potential, therefore off-spec, out. For me and my playstyle, Necrolords, out. Well, that just leaves one left, Kyrian. For me, cosmetics, yes. Weapons of Order. For 30 seconds, your mastery is increased by 10%. That is a hard 10%. It is not based on your points of mastery from gear, it is just a hard 10% increase. The second half of this ability resets the cooldown of your Keg Smash, plus increases the damage enemies take from you by 8%, stacking up to 4 times. So that means you can get your brews back faster, as well as get additional threat from enemies with the extra damage. Weapons of Order also has a long duration compared to its short cooldown. So every 2 minutes for 30 seconds, you can increase your dodge chance by 10% and increase the potency of your defensive spells. Weapons of Order? Check. Alright, so Combat Meditation gives you an extra 350 mastery for 20 seconds, plus little orbs around that'll increase the time. It eventually does get longer than the Weapons of Order. Now 350 mastery right now converts to another 10% mastery. Therefore, it really increases mastery by 20% using this Soulbind. Very good Soulbind to have. Valiant Strikes. When you crit, you get stacks of Valiant Strikes up to 20. So when a player falls below 50% health, you heal them for the amount of stacks. So up to 20% of their maximum health per stack. At the bottom, it says after healing this way, you may not benefit from Valiant Strikes for 1 minute. That means, doesn't matter how many times you crit, you will not receive the stacking buff. Personally, I don't really see this too great as a tank. There's no real control over it. It could heal somebody else and not you. I would say this is a lot better for healers, if anything, but Valiant Strikes, out. So at the making of this video, Bronze Call to Action is not out yet. However, I did test it on the beta. After using 90 damaging or healing spells, your next spell or ability summons Brawn, who knocks enemies back on arrival and then attacks and heals your targets for 30 seconds. So he does damage and he heals you because of all your self-healing. Brawn on the beta was absolutely great. He's awesome, he's cool, he's one of those big guys that come in, smashes the ground, one of those sentries. Definitely going to give a check mark for this one. Soulbinds, check. Alright, so off spec. For Mistweaver, I actually like the Kyrian ability because it's 30 seconds of 41% increased mastery. Plus, there is multiple Soulbinds I'll be able to use. Therefore, off spec gets a check. And that is why I chose Kyrian. The legendary you want to get is Stormstout's Last Keg. Keg Smash deals more damage, but this is what you want it for. The 1 additional charge. Having 2 Keg Smashes will allow you to have more brews off cooldown quicker and add some extra threat. Once you're pretty sustained on tanking and you want to push keys fast, I would say get Touch of Death, has a reduced cooldown by 120 seconds. Brewmasters are able to dual wield or use a two-hander. However, it is a lot better to dual wield because you can use 2 weapon enchants and 2 oils. Alright, so my stat priority is item level first for the agility, then mastery, then verse, and haste and crit are very close to each other. Now what Wowhead says, it's item level, then versatility, then crit is greater than mastery and haste. First, I'll go over and explain why I chose the order that I did, and then I'll go over why Wowhead went over their choices. In this expansion, they made primary stats way more than secondary stats did. Plus, agility gives stagger and the more potent attack power. Now, mastery does more than dodge. It also increases your attack power. And attack power bonuses also increase the potency of Celestial Brew, Expel Harm, and the talent Eye of the Tiger. It does not just do power of your attacks, so it also includes being a defensive. Plus, since I chose Kyrian, since mastery is already getting increased, it'd be better to potently increase mastery, because that Kyrian ability increases it by 10% no matter what my mastery currently is. Versatility is easy. Not only does it increase the potency of Celestial Brew, but it also decreases any and all incoming damage that includes physical and magical. Haste reduces the cooldown of your Purifying Brew, and it reduces the cooldown of your Keg Smash. Even though we have the legendary that gives double Keg Smashes, you still want to get as many Keg Smashes out as you can. Critical Strike. you have a chance equal to your critical strike chance to be healed for an additional 65% of the amount healed. So this is all sources, it's not just your own healing. Alright, this is what Wowhead says about critical strike. Thanks to Celestial Fortune, critical strike directly increases your healing taken and is an integral to surviving with Brewmaster's limited self-healing toolkit. It also an excellent offensive stat, outstanding stuff. This is the line I want to focus on right here. As is integral to surviving with Brewmaster's limited self-healing toolkit. Let's focus on where it says Brewmaster's limited self-healing toolkit. Why would I greatly increase something that's already limited? What this is saying is increase your healer's healing to you. I don't like having to be reliant on other people. That even includes my healer. Critical Strike also does not offer any form of damage avoidance, so you will still get hit for the full amount and hope to get healed back from it. Strike is important, but remember, I do Mythic Pluses. I pug a lot. I don't always have the best healer, so I'm not going to increase something that's already weak within my own class. With Mastery, I am increasing my own toolkit. I am increasing the potency of Celestial Brew. I am increasing the potency of Expel Harm. I'm increasing Nizao's damage. I'm increasing all of my own stuff so I can be self-reliant just in case I don't have a reliable healer. For right now, you're only able to get 2 conduits, and eventually you'll be able to get up to 4. Whichever covenant you decide to go, and whichever soulbind you decide to go, you want to make sure you get 2 endurance, 1 potency, and either a 2nd potency or finesse. For any soulbind, you want to get Walk with the Ox, Harm Denial, and Celestial Effervescence. Eventually, depending on the soulbind you get, you're either going to want to get Strike with Clarity, Bone Marrow Hops, or Dizzying Tumble. Harm Denial and Celestial Effervescence provide the most defense in the endurance conduits. Evasive Stride might sound good, but I don't keep high Stagger for a very long time, and it's a very low chance that it'll heal you, so I don't really use this one that much. Right now I'm taking Harm Denial as a priority because I'm able to heal myself with Expel Harm every 5 seconds as opposed to being able to use Celestial Brew every minute. Walk with the Ox is very good, especially in Mythic Pluses. It'll allow you to pop Nizao more on larger trash packs and on bosses. If you can avoid taking a finesse, I would suggest that, because I would much rather use Dizzying Tumble as a utility spell rather than a defensive spell, which I do anyway, but at least I have that choice. If you can get a 2nd potency spell as Kyrian or Necrolord, go with the class ability increase. I start off with Rushing Jade Wind. On larger packs or on bosses, if it's available, I'll pop Celestial Brew right after. Then I walk up to the enemies and Keg Smash right away. Then I pop Weapons of Order. Then I Keg Smash again, set them on fire. Then I Keg Smash again. On larger packs, I pop Nizao during Weapons of Order. Kick them in the face, slap them a few times, do it again. Use Purify if your Stagger turns red. After using Purifying Brew, use Celestial Brew. It'll maximize its absorb. Use Expel Harm on cooldown, as well as Keg Smash and Blackout Kick. Slap when you can to get your Celestial Brew off cooldown, and Spinning Crane Kick as a filler to get Nizao off cooldown. And that's it. That's how you Brewmaster. I do offer private coaching for anybody who wants it on my Patreon site. You can see the link in the comments down below. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.